So everyone is talking about the Dangote Refinery IPO that will likely happen around July. Now, IPOs are not new, but because of how big Dangote Refinery is, everybody is suddenly interested. And that brings us to the big question: why is Dangote Refinery special? First, it is a strategic national asset. So Dangote Refinery is positioned to reduce Nigeria's fuel imports and refine crude locally. So any business that is tied directly to a country's energy supply is worth looking at. Energy is the backbone of our economy. So when there is no fuel, there is no movement. When there is no movement, there is no economy. Second, there is massive market demand. So Nigeria consumes millions of liters of fuel daily, and for decades we've imported most of it. So now imagine refining locally at scale. So this means that there will be consistent domestic demand, and demand stability matters a lot to investors. So third, the foreign exchange advantage. Nigeria has spent billions of dollars importing refined fuel. So local refining reduces pressure on foreign exchange. So when a company sits at the center of something that is this important, global investors pay attention, and that is why everyone is talking about this now. So now let's take a step back and make sure we truly understand what an IPO means. So before now, when you want to buy a share, you probably open your trading app, maybe Bamboo for example. You search for a stock like MTN, you click buy. So what you were doing was buying shares from another investor who wanted to sell. This is called the secondary market. But Dangote Refinery is different. And as of today, it is privately owned. So only insiders own this Dangote Refinery. People like Aliko Dangote, early investors, and institutions like NNPC Limited, which Dangote talked about himself, owned 7.25% of shares. But now Dangote wants to make the company public, and this means that you and I can now be part of owners of Dangote Refinery. So the first time a private company sells shares to the public is called an IPO, initial public offering. So what this means is that, for example, Dangote Refinery is a big cake. So before IPO, only insiders are eating from this cake. Now Dangote has said he wants to give out 10% of these shares. He wants to sell out 10% of these shares to the public. So anybody now can own a piece of this share. So the first public sale is called an IPO. And this is where a lot of beginners are having like misconception. What's the difference between Dangote Refinery and buying shares from MTN that I've been doing since? So the primary market is called the IPO. This is where shares are sold for the first time. So you apply for shares, you are buying directly from the company, the money goes to the company. So the prices at this point are fixed and within a certain range. So at this point, you're not seeing greens, you're not seeing reds on your app yet. So demand and supply have not started pushing price around. That is for the primary market. So secondary market, that is when you now start using apps like Bamboo for trading. So shares are now listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange at this point. And now you are buying from another investor. You're not buying from a company. And now prices move daily. You start seeing greens and red on your Bamboo app or any other app you're using. And the money goes to the seller or the investor you bought from, not to the company. So in example, we are using real estate for an example. Primary market is buying land directly from the government, since in real estate all land belongs to government. While secondary market means you are buying land from someone who has already bought land before. Now let's talk about important things. You cannot buy IPO shares on Bamboo. Why? Because Bamboo, like we said, operates only in the secondary markets. So IPO happens before the stock is being listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So where can you apply to purchase shares of IPO? One, through a licensed broker, or two, through the official NGX Invest platform. So Nigerian Exchange Group created NGX Invest specifically for public offers like this. Now let's talk about how you can prepare for an IPO like this. First of all, you need to know that this IPO will be very competitive. Everyone will be interested in buying. So millions of Nigerians want to buy, big institutions want to buy, foreign investors also want to buy this share. So everybody wants a piece of this share. So, but how do you prepare ahead of others? Number one, you have to open a CSCS account. So this is where your shares are being stored electronically. But if you use a trading app like Bamboo, you already have one. But you can also open through a licensed stockbroker like Cardinal Stone Securities Limited, or you can use Bamboo like I mentioned. So if you have Bamboo already, then you have a CSCS account. So next, you need to set up your account. You need to verify your identity. Then you need to link your CSCS to this NGX Invest platform. So number three, most important thing, you have to make sure your money is ready when the IPO wants to go public. So the IPO window is always very short. Sometimes it can be for 1 week, sometimes it can be for 2 weeks. But considering how this Dangote Refinery shares is very competitive, I don't think it will be up to a week. So if you are still looking for money when it is open, you will likely miss out of it. So number four, you need to understand undersubscription. So a lot of people, like I said, wants this share. So if 10 million people wants to buy this share and Dangote is only listing 2 million shares for the public and you want to buy 1,000 shares, and if there are a lot of people that want to buy it, you may likely receive less, let's say 200 or nothing at all, depending on how competitive this thing is. This is what we call oversubscription. So the bigger the company, the more competitive it is. Now let's talk about some truths about IPOs. IPOs are very emotional periods. Everybody wants to cash out from other people's excitement. But there are some realities. The number one truth is that IPO prices can go down on that opening day. For example, Facebook in 2012, when they did their IPO, it was hyped, like everybody wanted to buy it like this. And the price actually was $38 at that time, but the price dropped to 53% after some months. We also have Airbnb. Airbnb did the IPO in 2020 and the price was $68. But during the opening day, the price moved from $68 to $146. That is over 100% gain in just one day. So we can see that some IPOs can do well on the first day, while some can do poorly on the first day. So the second thing I need you to also notice is that big name does not mean or does not guarantee profit. So yes, Dangote is a big name. Yes, refinery is important, but stock price depends on so many things like the revenue, debts, government policy, oil prices, management, and other factors. So because Dangote is a big name does not mean that the price will surely do well on the first day, but we are assuming that it will. So the third thing I need to notice is that you may not get all your shares you apply for. We've talked about that because of oversubscription. A lot of people also want to buy, so they want to be considerate to make sure they don't sell all the shares to just a small group of people. So they will just share it to a lot of people. So another thing I also need you to notice is that on that day, on the IPO day, listing day is always volatile. So the prices can be so unstable, can go 100%, just go less than 50% on that day. So that first period of IPO, emotion is what drives price. Because a lot of people just want to buy. So the demand and supply is just everywhere. But if you know what you are doing, you are going to be investing for a long term. So we need to understand what the business is about. Ignore the hype, and when you buy, hold with conviction that in 10 years time, in 20 years time, or for how long you want to hold it, you will make your profit from it. But let's summarize what we've said today. We said that an IPO is when a private company sells shares to the public for the first time. We also said that buying during IPO means primary market. Buying during after the IPO is the secondary market. You cannot buy an IPO on Bamboo app or any other trading app. You apply through NGX Invest platform. And big IPOs like Dangote Refinery will likely be oversubscribed. An IPO does not mean automatic profits. You should invest with understanding and not with excitement. Thank you.